Are you ready? Check your reality.
The comments and opinions of this program may be considered offensive. Viewer discretion is advised. Uncommon Sense is now available for your listening convenience on Anchor.fm. Anchor allows our podcast to be available on more platforms. Click a link in the description below to connect to your favorite listening app and stream Uncommon Sense today. Thank you for your listening and supporting our show. If you haven't already, hit subscribe and lay a smackdown on that notification bell to get notified anytime we post new content. Thanks again from your hosts at Uncommon Sense. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Uncommon Sense. I am your host, Billy.
And I'm Butch. We are here in the studio talking to you today. Hopefully you're listening and paying a little bit of attention.
What?
And if you can, actually think for yourself.
Ask those questions, man. Ask them.
Question everything.
When they get mad, ask some more.
That's right. And if they deflect, that means they're hiding something.
Yeah. Saki.
Why is the P silent?
Because the P is running down her leg. Say it with me, kids.
Because the P is running down her leg. Yeah, whenever she gets asked a question by a reporter, I can just see it tinkle a little bit. You can see the look on her face like, okay, that just went. That just happened. A little wetter in the drawers now. And it's not the good kind of wet. Unless she's into that.
Ew.
Oh, maybe she wears those plastic underwear. You know, the rubber ones that have the little liners on them, the stretchy liners. No leak panties. So she can sit there and pee on herself all day.
It depends.
No, that's what she's not wearing. So today what we're going to be discussing is a few quotes. They are by some very wise and renowned men of their time.
And we're just going to go over the quotes one by one and then kind of make our analysis, how we interpret the quotes and maybe how they relate to society today.
Yes.
You know, how can we use the wisdom of those in the past?
Right, because if we don't learn from the past, we're doomed to repeat it.
Exactly.
And this
like
is
Mark
what
Twain
I say.
said.
Yeah,
Wasn't it Mark Twain that said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it most definitely rhymes.
Yes.
Or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And it does.
It does.
And those that were alive, living active lives during the Nazi takeover in Germany.
Right.
How many of those remember, even if they weren't there themselves, they remember reading or hearing about the communist takeover in Russia?
Right. Or they might have been young kids at the time, 10, 12, and remember such things. How did such things happen? Well, this is how it happened because we let one party take over the media, and the information that was getting out to the people was do this or this is going to happen. So he scared them all.
They indoctrinate everyone with fear.
Yes.
Give them a glimpse of hope because the government will help them.
Yes, the government is there for them.
Yeah, the one that created the problem is going to fix it? No.
Right, no. So our first quote is going to be by...
Our first quote is from The Truce by Primo Levi. It says that monsters exist, but they are far too few in number to be truly dangerous. The most dangerous monsters are ordinary men and women, ready to believe and obey without asking questions. So what is that thing we keep talking about? Ask questions?
Question everything. And, if you don't have a question, then you're just a sheep. If you're not asking questions and you're just going by a narrative, you're a sheep. You need to be a free thinker.
And
think
not a black
for yourself.
Sheep. They're just another white sheep blended in with the flock.
Right.
They don't even have specific little markings.
Nope. They look just like any other sheep.
Yep.
So, what is he? Monsters exist, but they are far too few in number to be truly dangerous. Yes, I agree with that because the monsters of that period of time was the, monsters in the woods, the the horror stories are told.
Right, yeah.
And such
like Kosh Kosh.
Right.
And, you know.
Yeah, the nighttime.
Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
And
Baba Yaga.
We don't mean John Wick.
No.
We mean the real Baba Yaga.
And he mentions also that, or they mention that the most dangerous monsters are ordinary men and women who are ready to believe and obey without asking questions. I believe that's true. We see it today. We've seen it in the last, 4 years now?
At least.
At least. You know,
It's actually been happening for quite some time.
Right. Well, I'm thinking
on a
about
slow
the
scale.
on-site, or when Antifa came onto the scene.
Yeah.
Which was about 4 or 5 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shortly right before Trump.
Yeah, I think it was right after, actually.
Was it right after Trump took office?
Because I think it really started in it was either 2016 or 2017. Something like that.
We'll look it up for you folks.
Well, it's like the BLM stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it only came around every 4 years.
Yeah.
It's stuck now for a reason, but that's because they're in now.
Right.
You know.
Because the Democratic Party is in control, political control.
And as long as they can use BLM to their advantage, they will.
Right.
Once they're done, BLM's, no different than anybody else.
Right, exactly. Sad to say it. Before, they used to hide this all behind closed doors.
Yeah, now they're just
parking garages and shady places. But
look at all this stupid shit we do. Look at all the money we spend. That's yours, not ours.
Right.
But they don't hide it anymore.
They don't hide it anymore, and they actually have the gall to think they earn it and deserve it. First, you're not representing your constituents.
No.
Not in the least. So how are you earning this? How do you deserve this in any way? Because you sit in a chamber how many days out of the year? See, there's 365 days out of the year. You guys spend roughly 220 days out of the year in chambers.
They don't do anything for us, but they make more than most of us could even hope to make.
Yeah. And how do they become so rich?
Yeah.
On $174,000 a year salary. That's a salary. That means no more, no less.
Yep.
They just get $174,000 a year. And they voted for this.
It's no different than a manager's salary at
your
local grocery franchise.
Yeah. Salary means you get paid once every so often.
Yep. For a lot of managers, it's once a month.
Right.
So they get that much for the whole month. No more, no less. They'll get their bonuses when holidays come or whatever, but...
Teachers themselves, they usually get paid one lump sum at the beginning of the school year.
Yep.
That way there's an incentive for them to stay the whole school year. And they have to finish it out, whether good, bad, or in between. And that's why we're getting such lousy teachers nowadays.
Yep.
I hate to say it, but it's the truth.
Well, they're not there for the kids anymore.
No, they're there for their own political ideologies.
And for the money.
Most
of them. I can't say all teachers are like that. There are still the few and far between.
There are good teachers out there. Yes.
So many of them have quit though because of the politics
that's involved into the education system nowadays, and I don't blame them for quitting.
No.
I wouldn't want to get messed up in that tangle of a web anyway.
Well, and even several years ago, it had gotten to the point where their separation of church and state got so bad that morals weren't even allowed to be taught because, that's Christian ideology. No, it's not. It's moral value.
Yes. It's the difference between right and wrong, good and evil. But they don't see it that way. They don't want to teach that anymore. They don't want to take the responsibility. When
they try to say things, when someone tries to say something like that to me, or should I say, if someone was to try to say something like that to me, that those moral values are Christian ideology.
Right.
I would tell them to stick it up their hairy white woohoo, because those values go way back.
Yes.
Far before Christianity was ever even a thing, before religion was ever even a problem on this planet.
Right.
People had good values.
Right. They knew the difference between right and wrong. They knew what laws were and how to follow them.
You go back to ancient Druids.
Yeah.
They speak of it.
Yes.
Except they include everything.
Right.
Not just human beings. That all things are to be respected. that no murder of any kind should happen.
Right.
And that's something that bugs me about the modern Bible, is that it says, thou shalt not kill. The original translation was thou shalt not murder. There is a large difference between kill and murder.
Yes.
So, let's take hunting, for example. If I kill that deer because I'm hungry and I need to feed my family for the full winter, and my intention with that deer is to skin it, preserve the skin to keep my family warm,
right,
as well as preserve the meat to last us the winter. I pray over this animal and thank him for his sacrifice. That is not murder.
No.
That is killing for purpose.
Right.
Now, if I was to kill that animal simply for profit because I wanted his fur,
that would be murder.
That is murder.
Right.
And to leave his body there without any proper ceremony of any kind,
right,
without thanking him in any way, and to leave his body to rot and take his skin for profit, that is murder.
Right. Now, something that a lot of people don't know about me is I'm a quarter native. And I still believe in certain traditions, shall we say. And one of those is if you go out hunting, you pray for a good hunt.
Yes.
Not an easy one, a good one.
And it's interesting how much your ancestors and my ancestors were alike in that way. The beliefs and ways of the Celts were very much
in line with that of the Native American Indians.
Even their like gods or whatever you want to call them, their deities were very similar.
Yes. Yeah, they had Earth Mother, Sky Father.
Most ancient languages, when you translate their word for God, as we say it today, quote unquote, God, it means Sky Father. And there's always a goddess that's opposite him.
Yes.
And her name tends to translate to something to do with the earth. So, but back to this quote where he says, the most dangerous monsters are ordinary people that are ready to obey without asking questions. We saw this during the Nazi takeover of Germany. The people that were the most dangerous were the ones that were not willing to stand up for what was right.
That's correct.
Hence, all of those Jews and other innocent people died. Homosexuals, people of different religions weren't agreed upon. You didn't have the right hair color or skin color or eye color.
Or if they did something that was against their values.
Yeah, that was against Nazi values.
And we see the same thing happening now with the Socialist American Party.
We'll even look at how they, in some places, people are even going to jail. There was a guy, I think it was in Canada. He went to jail because he would refuse to refer to, I think it was his daughter, as a him.
Right.
He refused to acknowledge her gender. He ended up going to jail over that shit. She was like 14 or some crap.
It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. A lot of people say, oh, I'm going to move to Canada, if this happens or that happens or whatever happens.
Well, meanwhile, in Canada, the citizens are like, God save America. How do I know this? Oh, because I talk to Canadians online all the time.
Yes.
Actually. Half the time you go into the comments about stuff, some of the most active people in YouTube screaming about American patriotism are Canadians.
Yep.
Or Australians.
Yeah.
Oh, and English too. I've met some cool people online that are English.
I've actually talked to a couple people almost nightly whenever they're online, and we talk politics. And when we talk politics, we sit there and we talk both sides of the spectrum. I'm open to discussion at any time, not arguments, not name calling. I'm open to discussion at any time about my feelings on what is going on in America today. And these quotes are going to point that out.
And just falling into the next one here, he says, this one is from Howard Zinn, and it's written in The Problem is Civil Obedience. And he says, the problem is not disobedience, it is obedience.
Yes, if you just go with whatever the government tells you to do, then you're just part of the problem.
And since these two are both short, we'll move on to the next one that says, the real question is not to know why people rebel, but why they don't rebel. And that one was from Wilhelm Reich.
I agree with him. The question's not why people rebel, because people rebel all the time.
For all sorts of reasons.
For all sorts of reasons. And it's part of our Constitution that we have the right to address the government over grievances.
Mm-hmm.
And that means we can also gather and demonstrate. And that's been ruled by the...
and that's where the to peaceably assemble
right.
comes in.
Yes, we have the right to peaceably assemble.
Our grievances, of which we are allowed to peaceably assemble over, that is the definition of rebellion.
Yep.
To peaceably assemble, or to assemble, here we use it peacefully.
Because it says to peaceably.
We want it to be peacefully.
No, it says to peacefully assemble. So,
and we, as a good patriot, would want it to be
we want it to be peaceful.
We don't want people to die.
No.
We don't want blood to be spread.
No.
But at this point,
we're not afraid of blood. If it comes to that, where blood has to be spilled, we're not afraid to die for our country.
Exactly.
As patriots.
I would fight for this country, to save it, to preserve it.
I took an oath.
Exactly, because, and I mean, I never took the oath that you did as a Marine,
right.
But silently to myself, I have taken that oath.
Right.
And as the child of a veteran.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, and a child of history. I mean, I have been raised in the world of history.
Oh, yes.
And to think that my founding fathers, they fought, they bled for something that they believed in. We weren't even a country then.
No, we weren't. And
they were fighting for the possibility
of freedom.
We have to fight to preserve that freedom that they hoped could happen.
Right.
To them, it was just a dream. That's why they called it the American dream. Because to them, it was just a dream. They were the beginning of that dream of people being able to have true liberty and be independent among themselves. But to also live as a society. They understood that we, as a collective society, have to work together, just like a clock or anything else that has moving parts. We all have to synchronize with one another in order for society to work properly. And so, what they're saying here is that we, as the people, need to come together and rebel. And if we're not, ask ourselves, why are we not?
Yeah.
Moving on to the next one. The doctrine of blind obedience and unqualified submission to any human power, whether civil or ecclesiastical, is the doctrine of despotism. And this comes from On Slavery and Abolition, Essays and Letters, written by Sarah&Angelina Grimke.
Yes. The doctrine of blind obedience and unqualified submission to any human power. I like how they put that. Any human power. Whether that is a government or something religious. Right. Whether civil or ecclesiastical.
So whether it is the Roman Church telling you what to do.
Right.
Whether it's the communist whatever, or Joe Biden himself.
Yeah.
The idiot himself. No matter who they are. The blind obedience. Blind meaning you follow without question. You just do what you're told.
Yeah.
And never wonder why you're doing this.
Right.
So that blind obedience is the doctrine of despotism. Let's take apart that last little bit there.
Oh, I like that last part. Because it is a doctrine to sit there and tell yourself and to tell others around you that you're ready for this decline in civilization, to go backwards. You're actually going into a sadder place than what you are currently at.
You have now entered a cult mindset. That no matter the outcome, this is the way it has to be, and I will drink the Kool-Aid because Biden said I have to.
I'm sorry. If somebody tells me to drink Kool-Aid, I'm going to tell them, sorry, I have my mask on.
These actors we have puppeting themselves up here in politics right now.
Right.
They are the characters that everyone hates in movies.
Yes. And no offense to The Rock Johnson. I wish him nothing but success in his life and happiness. But I really don't like his movies. I don't like him as an actor.
He made one good movie.
Which one?
The remake of Walking Tall. He did pretty good in that one.
He did pretty good, but he...
It still wasn't as good as the original. I'm just saying.
Still wasn't as good as the original,
of all
but
the
it
movies
was
he's
really
made,
good. It was a good movie.
That was a good movie.
I just didn't like him in it.
They probably could have picked somebody better than The Rock. But,
yes.
But that was a good movie.
So on to our next quote. What do we got?
It says, "For centuries, men were punished for having disobeyed. At Nuremberg, for the first time, men were punished for having obeyed. The repercussions of this precedent are only now beginning to make themselves felt." And that was written in the New Yorker in 1967 by Peter Ustinov.
Yes.
Except in Russia, they would say Peter. Peter Ustinov. Ustinov. That's a cool
But
name.
this is
My name was Peter Ustinov.
I'm close. My name is Pedro. No, I wholeheartedly agree with this quote, because this is a precedent that has been set, and this is a precedent that is getting ready to be tested, because they cannot force anything into your body. If they do, it is a violation of the Nuremberg Code. Mm-hmm. Look it up yourself. Research it. Understand why. And all those that are following blindly, saying, well, I was just doing as I was told. No, you can now be held just as guilty as the rest.
They told me I had to have it to have my job. I had to keep my job.
Right.
You know, or the ones that gave in because they were offered $100.
Right. Or a cup of coffee. Yeah.
You did what for a donut? Oh, and then they did offer beer.
Yeah, they did offer beer there for a while. And that's all in the state of Oregon. Let's give you a
sticker. You did a good job. Here's a smiley face.
Yeah. Here's a participation trophy for you.
Participation trophies.
Anyway.
But yeah, you know, for those of you that don't know what the Nuremberg trials are, look it up. And do a full study of what they are, what it meant.
And what resulted from it. What the Nuremberg Code is.
And I am going to get into it a little bit.
Okay.
Because people should know at least a little bit. The Nuremberg trials is where Nazi soldiers and scientists were tried for following orders. And the result of it was that if the order is immoral, you don't have to follow it. You have the choice of following that order or not. And if you choose to follow an immoral order, the results of that are your fault. So the death of every single Jew was the fault of those who followed orders.
That's right.
And they were tried and punished for it.
Yeah. All right. So on to the next quote here we have.
From The Wilder Shores of Marx. Marx being Marxism. Journeys in a Vanishing World, written by Theodore Dalrymple. In totalitarianism, shortages of material goods, even of necessities, were not a drawback but a great advantage for the rulers. These shortages were not accidental to the terror, but one of its most powerful instruments. Not only did shortages keep people's minds strictly on bread and sausage, and divert their energies to procuring them so that there was no time or inclination left over for subversion, but the shortages also meant that people could be brought to inform, spy, and betray each other very cheaply.
This is true. This has been proven time and time again. And now they're starting this whole thing. If you see something, say something. This is from the Department of Homeland Security that they've posted out there. They started doing that
last year with people and the masks.
Yes. But they're doing, if you see something, say something. Tell on your neighbor, spy on your neighbor, and what are you going to get out of it?
Kate Brownstreet said that in one of her little news broadcasts last summer.
Yeah.
Listen here, you Nazi.
Yep. This is how I know we're going into not only a socialistic country, because it's not socialism. We're going straight communism. Mm-hmm. And if we don't do something about it and do something about it soon.
Well, they probably figure that the majority of Americans are smarter than they would like us to be. So if they don't go full commie right off the bat,
They're going to wait
as
a generation.
socialists, the holes in the socialism will allow for us to still rebel easier than we could with full communism. Because there's just that little bit of leeway.
Yep. And I'm going to tell it to you like Uncle Sam once said, we want you. And I'm going to tell it to you like Smokey the Bear said it, only you. So, it's up to us, the Americans, the patriots, not to be divided, but to unite together.
So here in the Introduction to Politics of Obedience by Murray Rothbard, he says, mass nonviolent resistance as a method for the overthrow of tyranny stems directly from the fact that all rule rests on the consent of the subject masses. For if tyranny rests on mass consent, then the obvious means for its overthrow is simply by mass withdrawal of that consent. The weight of tyranny would quickly and suddenly collapse under such a nonviolent revolution. And I have been saying virtually this exact same thing since the mask crap started last year, hence the whole reason I don't have relationships with certain people that I used to.
Right.
Because I pointed this out, that when the masks started, I said, this is the first step to control. How do you guys not see this?
Yes.
Of all the conversations we have had about the government, I mean, my brother and I were straight up like two hides having a conversation.
Right.
The three branches of government are media, corporate, and Hollywood.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that was our mindset. Like,
yeah.
And so other people that I've had conversations with about stuff like that, it's like, how do you guys not see what is happening here?
Right.
Starting with the masks from the very beginning.
Yeah. You was talking about commercials. I want to talk to you about a commercial I seen just recently. It was on YouTube, and it gives you my local, commercials. So it gives me commercials for the state of Oregon. And in one of these commercials, they is pushing the vaccine, and it shows a mother that's from La Grande, Oregon, and she states that she has two boys, and she, as a mother, she's really concerned about their mental health and their stability through these trying times. So, when I was making the decision to get my son vaccinated,
there's another one of those.
She continues on, I got the vaccine myself. But she said son, not sons. And at the beginning of the video, it shows two boys. These are actors, people. These are paid actors.
Yep.
And if you don't believe me, you better look them up very, very carefully.
Yep. There was another one with a firefighter.
Yes.
Where they do something similar, and it's all trying to hit your little emotional buttons. Worry about your family and your fellow firefighters. Yes, worry about your family and your fellow firefighters.
Right.
Worry about their freedom.
Yes.
Worry about the fact that if you consent to this crap, it's never going to end, and their freedom is going to be taken away. Their choice of whether or not they want to take this thing will be taken away.
Yeah.
And that's just the beginning. And like I was saying with the mask thing, since the very beginning, I said, if we just don't do it, what are they going to do?
Exactly.
They
can't lock us all up.
And me and friends or whatever joked about, I mean, what if every American stopped paying income taxes? Just literally, boom, everyone stopped. Everyone stopped registering their car needlessly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Something like that.
If you own it, there should be no reason to have to register it. And, well, if you are going to register it in your name so that you have it in your name until you sell it. And then you register it in somebody else's name.
A one-time thing.
A one-time registration. It shouldn't have to be every, was it now, every year that you have to do it? Yeah. Or every 2 years?
I think it's every year.
Yeah, but you can get
no, it's every 2 years, I think.
No, it's every year, but you can get like 2 years out or 4 years out or something like that. Or 2 or 3 years out. Anyway, why is it that they are allowed to...
Yeah, why are they allowed to charge us for things that we own? And if we all stopped paying for stupid crap that there's no need for us to pay it. It doesn't help our economy.
No.
It doesn't go to anything productive like roads or anything like that. No. It goes into some pocket of some politician somewhere along the line.
Right.
So If we all stopped paying that stupid crap, your dog license, your your car registration, your income tax, because that's your money. You earned that shit. And if we all just stopped...
Yeah, if we just stopped.
What are they going to do? Sorry, the people voted. They said no.
Exactly.
Their power is our power. We
Right.
give them that power.
The only way they have any kind of power is they have control.
Mm-hmm.
Control over the outcomes. Who are the ones that are actually doing the tallying? Is it a civilian, or is it somebody in politics? Somebody from the government? Because
it's somebody above them.
Yes, usually, we'll take the presidential election. It was up to the state attorney general to count, to certify all of the ballots.
Yep.
Well, what if that attorney general doesn't like the outcome of the ballots and kind of skews it for the party that they prefer? See, and this is the problem that we have today. It's not that we're a two-party system. We should be a one-party system, American or not. Mm-hmm. That's it. American, you're either American or you're not. And if you're not, then get out of America.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to be racist. I'm not trying to say anyone to go home. I'm saying that if you don't like America,
if you don't like the way we're set up, you don't like the way our cultures all bleed together, go find somewhere you like to be.
Right.
Just like I tell Californians, you don't like it here, take your politics and go back where you came from.
That's right. Because, yeah.
Don't come up here, don't come over here in the country and tell us that, our kids can't play in the mud and run around with the horses. Okay?
Right.
You don't want your kids to play in the mud and run around with the horses.
That's up to you.
That's up to you.
Yeah.
But you don't come telling me how to raise my kids.
Exactly.
You can go back where you came from.
Right.
So to continue on that same note, this next one here is from Civilization in Transition by Carl Jung. The mass crushes out the insight and reflection that are still possible within the individual. Rational argument can be conducted with some prospect of success only so long as the emotionality of a given situation does not exceed a certain critical degree. If the effective temperature rises above this level, the possibility of reasons having any effect ceases, and its place is taken by slogans and chimerical wish fantasies. That is to say, a sort of collective possession results, which rapidly develops into a psychic epidemic. How relevant is that quote right now?
It reminds me of just about everything we see on TV nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're bombarding you with slogans, ads. Chimerical there is chime and lyrical all together. So it's a cadence and it's lyrics put together. Hello, ads.
It's like the Pied Pipers.
Yeah.
We are the children. And the media is the Pied Piper. And the masses are simply following music.
Yeah.
They are mesmerized. They have no idea what they're doing.
They don't know what's going on. They don't care. They just care about what they see on TV. Mm-hmm. Something that can entertain them while they relax after a hard day's work. But they don't understand, who are they really working for?
Yep.
Are they working for themselves, for their families? Or are they working for a larger corporation known as the government?
So, this thought just came to my mind that the way they're going about this whole thing, this communism takeover, it reminds me of the witches in Hocus Pocus.
Yes.
Come little children, it's time to play, or whatever she says.
Yeah.
And this whole dreamy fantasy world of everything will be fine and you have no worries and you will own nothing but you'll be happy. What? I won't even have a Mustang and I'll be happy? How does that work? Not possible.
Not possible. Nope.
I won't even own a baseball and I'm going to be happy? You're a fat liar.
That's right. But yes, I believe it rapidly develops into a psychic epidemic because look at what's going on right now. It's bombarding us 24/7 Not
and the
news.
Proof is in the statistics.
Not
How
news,
many
but
people
programming.
have some kind of mental disorder?
Right.
Whether it's anxiety or claustrophobia or arachnophobia. I don't know. Whatever it is that people are afraid of. But people are literally afraid of living anymore.
Right. So they go through the routine. They go through the motions.
And they're just like anxious and up in nerves about everything. And heaven forbid somebody says the wrong thing to them and their entire week is ruined.
Right.
If this is not if people can't see this psychic epidemic, well then you're part of that psychic epidemic. I'm just saying.
That's right.
Because it's gotten insane. Like
it's gotten
literally
really insane.
Out
there.
It was getting really weird.
Yeah.
And then 2020 happened and it's like, whoa.
Well, I have a feeling, I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to predict that I'm just saying if, for educational purposes only, if there ever tries to have an attempt to convert America to a communist nation, then there are going to be wanted posters of certain politicians posted up all over for crimes against the United States of America.
Yep.
And America will fight back. Corporate greed will be there, but small-time America will be there to fight back, and we will win.
It's amazing, too, how many people are rooting for us right now. Like, all over the world.
Yes.
There's whole societies rooting for America to fight back.
Yes.
For some time, our flag has been, in other countries, a symbol for freedom.
That's right.
When other rebellions happen, and this has been happening for years, and I haven't been talking about this kind of thing.
Yes.
But when other countries are rebelling against their elites, they are waving an American flag alongside their own.
Right.
Because that flag symbolizes freedom all over the world.
That's right. And
so while all these, woke SJW people are running around here hating on the American flag, you have no idea what that flag means because you have been spoiled in this country of freedom.
Right.
You have been taught
that you are entitled.
You have been raised to be entitled. You have no idea what you have and what others don't. They were never raised to accept and understand and really acknowledge what freedom and liberty are.
Exactly.
And why? So many things. How history is taught these days.
Yep.
How it's been taught since I was in school. It was already getting really bad then.
I believe it.
They took out the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right.
They don't allow teachers to uphold moral value in school anymore.
Nope.
They discourage parents from disciplining their children.
Right.
The results is a weak society. But
a very weak society.
On the hopeful side, weak times create strong men.
And women.
And strong men create a good time.
That's right. I'm not trying to threaten or coerce anybody. I'm just stating a fact that if you don't think real Americans will stand up and fight against socialism, then you are sadly mistaken.
And also largely mistaken. So our next quote says, "Logic will not help you here. You have your logic, they have theirs. And the distance between the two cannot be bridged by words." From Elie Wiesel.
Yep.
How true is that these days?
That is so true.
Let's start with how many genders is it now? Oh, I saw one the other day. It was like a screenshot of a tweet or something.
Right.
And it said 2SLGBT blah 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 plus. What the heck is 2S?
Second level snake. I guess they fought the boss on the last level and made it to the second level. I don't know. I know what the plus stands for at the end. Plus multiple personalities.
Indeed. Hence the psychic epidemic.
Yes. And our next quote?
So this is a good one, and I want us to really pick this apart. Okay. Considering everything else we've just talked about. and the need for rebellion under tyranny, right?
Right.
So many others are better qualified, more competent and effective than me. A throng of good-willed souls is projected onto the horizon, ready to rise, so that I can retreat more easily. Another will act instead of me, and so much better. And that is from Disobey, written by Friedrich Gross.
Yeah.
This one really intrigued me because what he's saying in here is that we have to get past that mindset in order to disobey.
What I got
Because
out of it,
there's so
I'll
many
tell you
people,
what I got out of it here in a moment.
Right.
But go ahead.
There's so many people that have this mindset that someone else will stand up. Someone else will say something. Someone else will stand the ground and protect for me, and I won't have to. And someone else will do a better job of it than I ever could.
What I see of it is a rise of disobedience through generations, and it's one old soldier to another younger, one that is projected onto the horizon, ready to rise, so that he can retreat more easily, so that he can fall back.
Right.
He doesn't have to fight as hard.
And I can see that too. But I feel like as a general population, there's so many people, just as young and spry as I am, if not younger and
Oh,
sprier,
yes.
that have this mindset that
Oh, yeah.
someone else would do a better job.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know enough about what's
I
going
can see
on.
that.
There's a lot to say that. But just because you don't know all the details of what's going on doesn't mean you don't have an opinion on how society should work, right? And when it's this obvious that society is falling apart, we all have to have that courage to stand up and say something. And it's usually the older gentlemen that have already been there and done that are the ones that rise up and say, hey, this is not okay.
Yeah.
I've been there, done that, and this is not okay.
I fought for a country that was definitely not like this.
Exactly.
And I can say that personally because I'm a veteran. I served in the United States Marine Corps. I am a Marine. I earned that title. I'll always be a Marine. I took an oath, and that oath never expires. And it says, defend the Constitution and the United States of America against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. So, enemies that are within our borders, I am able to fight and resist and to expel them from our borders.
Yep. Along what you were saying, there are a lot of the older guys and gals as well that have already fought for this country. They don't have that energy anymore.
No. I'm too
Those
old
ones
now.
can't fight, right?
Right.
So they are hoping for the younger generation to stand up and fight.
Right.
The problem is how many of the younger generation also have this mindset.
Well, if they was raised right, and they were raised with good values.
And patriotism.
Patriotism. Because what makes a country is patriotism. Not patriotism to a party.
Yeah.
Patriotism to your country.
Exactly. And now they want to paint patriots as exclusive to a certain party.
Exactly. Well, does that mean you're unpatriotic? I'm just, I'm asking for a friend.
Right? And that goes for every country. To be a patriot of your country is to love the land of which you have been born upon.
Right, and that you call home.
That you call home. And those who call America home, that are from somewhere else, so many of those are so much more patriotic than those that were born and spoiled here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm one of those that has always thought about how lucky I am to be an American. Because my mother was not so lucky to be born an American.
Right.
And if it wasn't for my family's history to have played out the way it did, I wouldn't be here.
That's true.
I certainly wouldn't have been born in America.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. You have a made in Japan label on you.
Something. Maybe I was made in Taiwan. Oh no, I would have been made in the Philippines.
So the next quote that we have here on our list, and this is another good one.
The etymology of the word conscience tells us that it is a special form of knowledge. The peculiarity of conscience is that it is a knowledge of or a certainty about the emotional value of the ideas that we have concerning the motives of our actions. From Civilization in Transition by Carl Jung.
Yes, I believe it. And, consciousness tells you that we have a certainty about what? Well, a lot of people have lost their conscious.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a subconscious state right now. These are the ones that are calling themselves woke. But they're in a subconscious state, relying on information that is given to them by the mass media.
Yep.
And that information is misleading. It's a false narrative. And whenever they get busted on something, they switch the stories to something else is more important than this old issue.
And for the people that are on the fence, I know there's a lot of people right now that are on the fence. They don't know which side to pick. They don't know who's right or wrong. Because everybody's being called Nazis right now.
Right.
We're calling them Nazis. They're calling us Nazis. It's chaos.
It's Nazism right now.
So, those who are unsure of what side to pick, only you can know what side to pick.
You have a conscience.
Everyone has one.
You have
It's
knowledge
whether or not
of.
you are in touch with your conscience.
Yes.
Okay, my conscience is my grandma. And she was very strict.
My conscience is my mother. She was a very loving, very disciplined woman.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't always. She was a young scrapper in her younger years, but she matured and she became the woman that she wanted to be, and I applaud her for that. And I believe she raised me right. She gave me good morals, a good moral compass to go by.
We all know Leonard Skinner's "Simple Man."
Yep.
That song makes me think of my grandma.
Oh.
Just that is how she raised me.
Right.
Was to be simple, to be self-disciplined, to reject the ways of the world.
Right.
And all of your answers are in here. They're in your heart. They are inside of you.
Right.
In what your conscience. Your conscience will tell you which side you are truly on. Which side is moral and which side is not.
Right. Yep. And like he says, the peculiarity of conscience is that it is a knowledge of or certainty about the emotional value of the ideas we have concerning the motives of our actions. That means, am I doing something right? Am I doing something wrong? Well, let's see. If I raised you to say, every morning when you get up, you put your right leg in your pants first and pull that up. If you don't, you're doing it wrong. Now all these people that are pulling their pants up with the left leg, they've been taught just either leg is fine, or just their left leg. They're taught now left leg goes in first. So all the right leggers are wrong. That's just the way they was raised. It's their moral values of what they was taught.
Which brings us to our next point, as we're talking about your own personal moral values, what's right, what's wrong,
Correct.
In your heart. Written by the infamous Plato in the Apology, he says, "The 30 sent for me and ordered me to bring Leon the Thelminian to be put to death. I, however, showed again, by action, not by word only, that I did not care a whit for death, but that I did care with all my might not to do anything unjust or unholy, for that government, with all its power, did not frighten me into doing anything unjust. I simply went home."
I love that. I love
Simple.
that. Yeah. Simple. I simply went home. I knew the difference between right and wrong. I knew it was wrong. I just turned and went home.
Yep.
Yeah. It's the simple actions that we do. If you know it's not right, don't do it. If you have questions about it, don't do it. Not until you have answers. And make sure the answers that you're getting are not from a mainstream media, not from mass media. Get the answers from looking them up, doing your own research.
It's always interesting when a social justice warrior gets all up in somebody's face and cusses them out and calls them names and then quotes Gandhi. I read this and I think there's so many of them that they want to preach these types of words of peace and unity and quotes from Gandhi and Buddha, and they have no idea what Gandhi and Buddha were actually talking about.
Right.
They show that they don't, because the second you say something that they don't agree with, they are all up in arms, got all kinds of words for what they think about your face.
Yes. Now, mind you, the ones that are getting in your face, telling you what they think about your face, usually have a face that you don't want to look at in the first place.
Usually.
Was that a tongue twister?
Uh-huh.
But it makes sense. I'm not going to say these women are unattractive. I'm just saying they're unappealing.
Well, beauty lies within. And when your personality is ugly as all get out,
you're ugly
it don't matter how pretty your face is.
That's right.
Like,
ugly is ugly. Beauty might be skin
like
deep, but
Carmen
ugly
Diaz
goes to the bone.
You could look like Carmen Diaz in The Mask, but you
Right.
freak me like shit and go away. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I don't care who you are. Get out of my house.
All right. So I think that is very correct, very on point.
Here's another quote from Carl Jung, Civilization and Transition. He was a very wise man, I'll tell you.
He was.
Since olden times, conscience has been understood by many people less as a psychic function than as a divine intervention. Indeed, its dictates were regarded as the voice of God. This view shows what value and significance were and still are attached to the phenomenon of conscience. Conscience commands the individual to obey his inner voice, even at the risk of going astray.
That's right. And I agree with him. He was a very bright, very intelligent man. And he even realized that the conscience commands the individual to obey his inner voice. You know the difference between right and wrong, and we know the difference between morality. You know if something's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. But if it's good, do it. If it's the right thing, do it. But if you know deep down inside that, hey, maybe this ain't right, turn and go home.
There are so many things in life that we as human beings complicate that are not complicated.
Exactly.
The answer is simple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's like when, say, a woman complains about, or even a guy complains about their crappy relationship.
Mm-hmm.
My friend's got a girlfriend and he hates that.
Right.
You complain about your relationship that much, you can't fix it, then walk away.
Yeah.
It is that simple. We as individuals, we make it complicated.
Right.
We attach ourselves emotionally to something.
No. Yeah, we do.
We
actually do. And usually we, because the individual, the person themselves, most of us, a high percentage of us, not all of us.
No,
but most of us are what's known as codependent. We resolve ourselves that we need somebody else in our lives.
Right.
No matter what's going on. And that's fine. There's those that don't want anyone in their lives. They're happy to be alone and by themselves, and that's fine too. I'm not saying either is right, either is wrong. I'm saying they're both right.
What's right by you? Listen to your inner voice. It's that simple. What does it say? And do what it says.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to big things like not just relationships and whatnot like that, but like what we're going through with our country right now.
Yes.
The people trying to decide which side to be on. It's not about the party or anything like that. So don't let whatever party scare you away from doing what's right or what's wrong. Because there are more than enough people on what the media is labeling as the far right that just a year and a half ago were registered Democrats. I'm friends with one.
Right.
He was a Democrat his entire life.
Yes.
His dad is a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
In 2020, they both became Republicans.
Wow.
Because it was a statement at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think the walk away movement happened?
Exactly.
What do you think Blexit was? Has anybody heard about Blexit?
Yeah, I've heard about it.
Yeah,
I know.
That's the whole reason the media hates Candace Owens is because of Blexit.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was showing her fellow black people that you don't have to just vote blue
all
Because
the
they
time.
said so.
Right. Because
What
they're
is
going to
right
give you
by
free
you?
handouts because they never give you free handouts.
Go look at the facts. This is what's happening. This is what they're doing. This is what they're doing.
Yep.
Which one's right? Which one's wrong? And frankly, neither one of them are completely right.
Mm-hmm.
And only one of them is partially right. And the other one has no right at all. It's just insane. You know what I mean? But, most of us are somewhere in the middle of this left versus right. I would say probably 90% of Americans are somewhere in the middle. They're not fully Republican, but they're not fully Democrat either.
Right.
So don't pick a side as far as that goes.
Exactly.
Pick a side. Are you with your country or are you against it? And if you're against it, well, you better walk away from me pretty quick. And if you're with it, what is that new hashtag that's trending? Do not comply.
Yeah.
Do not comply.
Do not comply.
Obey your inner voice, even at the risk of going astray. Words from the great Carl Jung.
Yes. And we've got one more to go here. And
so last but not least, from Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau. Disobedience is the true foundation of liberty. The obedient must be slaves.
And in this day and age, I wholeheartedly agree with that, too. And he was a wise man, wise beyond his times.
Yes.
But he's seen that going on at the same time in his day and age, and we're seeing it going on in ours. This is why we learn history. This is why we read. This is why we get answers to the questions we have.
I mean, imagine if every mistake you've made in your life was refabricated.
Yes.
You would never learn anything.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole point of making mistakes is to learn from them. That mistake then becomes a lesson in life.
That's right. It's a life lesson.
When it first happens, you're like, crap, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. The point is to learn why you shouldn't do that. So when society itself makes a mistake, the whole point is for society itself to learn from that mistake, make it a lesson, and figure out why not to do that again. Have we evolved enough that we can figure that out, or are we just going to repeat ourselves?
I think we're getting to the point where we've evolved.
I think we are too, actually. And it has something to do with that thing we call a conscience.
That's right.
And I think that we're soon going to find that a collective conscience of the mass population, we are going to find what power that truly has very soon.
Yes.
And honestly, I don't think it's just going to happen in America.
No, I think
it is going to happen worldwide, all at the same time.
Yep.
Like, virtually the same time,
I think they're waiting for America to make that first move.
Because everyone else is afraid.
They're showing us that they're ready by their small demonstrations. Like, what was that? There was a governor or a president, something like that there, that was told his whole cabinet, everything. They were told to get out of the country. And it was all the people that rose up and marched.
What, didn't that happen in Africa?
I thought it was Spain or Portugal.
Oh, maybe it was.
We'll look that up.
Yeah, because there was some crazy stuff going on in Africa, too.
Yes.
The people rising up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, we're waving those American flags.
Yep.
But yes, he has a point. That as a society, disobedience is that foundation. We have to be willing to disobey wrongful orders.
Right.
In order to keep our liberty.
Yes, we do.
And without the willingness to disobey, we become slaves. And that's what Thoreau is saying.
Yep. And we talked about it earlier in that one quote where it says, do not submit. Don't submit yourself.
Simply go home.
I'll tell you this much. I'll leave you guys on this note. Rosa Parks simply said no.
No. She didn't put up a fight. She didn't call anybody names. She simply sat there and said no. She was a hero. Still is. Alright, and on that note, I'm going to say it's been a good episode, I think.
I think it's been a great episode.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you on the next round.
Can't wait to hear what you guys have to say to us next.
United, there is little we cannot do in a host of cooperative ventures. Divided, there is little we can do.
Damn it, Billy, give me back my liquor.